Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Combat 2 by Compass Games, designed by Ross Mortel. We are going through another uh, overview video. And it's because a lot of things have changed. Not a lot of things, but enough that I felt that I better do a new one here. We've added some things to it that I want to make sure everybody is aware of and knows how to use. So let's just start with basically adding a new game in. You're going to notice that it has the combat version 2.0b. You should see this extension combat to extension 11v loaded. You should see that. If you don't see that, you need to make sure that extension's loaded. I use an extension because there's supposed to be more combat platforms coming, and it'll be easier to just add extensions in as we go and not have to mess with the base anymore. And it also helps keep the size down. Next thing is I will be putting all the scenarios in when I'm sure we're done messing with everything. It may take a couple of seconds to load in. It usually does. I think the extension slows things down a little bit. We also use a lot of other global properties and things, and all of that adds up to slow things down a hair. Still not bad though. I advise going in and to your file and your preferences and making sure that you put your heap up pretty good. It comes in default at 500. I think I like to put like 1,000 in. That'll help things out a lot. So we're just going to start from left to right up here. Basic dice. All are virtual except the D100. I'm not putting in 100 faces of dice in there to do that. Your retire button, which you probably don't need to do. You're solo for crying out loud. Visibility. Visibility is one of the new things. And I'll bring out the counters so you can see this. When I set up the game, I first go into utility, go all the way down to the bottom because this is where your campaign counters are. You got your weather marker, and I usually bring them right up around here where you're going to set up your direction marker and your ground conditions, your campaign morale, and your time of day. Now, I've gone through and all these, and I've put notes on each counter as to the effects they have. What -1 weapon skill over 2 hexes for rain. Uh, Heavy rain, LOS, 2d6 hexes, -1 weapon skill greater than 2 hexes. End turn, check for D10 for 9. D10 of 9 or above is mud, or of 9 equals mud. The big thing with all this is with your LOSs now, when you roll your LOS, say we roll a D6 for this one, 2d6, we get a 5 and a 6, which is 11. You go up here to the visibility and you put in 11. And we'll get back to that in a couple minutes. All your different ground components are in here and they all have notes on them. We got mud. Some of these I made up on my own just so we'd have them. Deep snow, snow. I like the mud. The mud's particularly pretty cool. Um, Firm ground. I put firm ground in so we'd have that too. Clear. Daylight's a little different than clear. We have night with the night rules in there. Your basic morale. Um, and I might go through. I'm trying to keep the counters uncluttered, but I might go through and put what your bonuses are for each morale type because I tend to keep having to. I'm ripping my rule books up already. I've only had the game for 6 months, so not even 6 months. Hasn't been that long. 6 months will be July since I've had it because that's when I can release the module. Um, anyway, other thing I did, I added a weapon skill adjustment counter in here, so you get those random events that say such and such squad has a weapon skill adjustment +1 or -1. You add this to your counter so you don't forget, and then when you clear the orders at the end of the turn, that will disappear with the orders. As I touched on earlier, your visibility, make sure you enter that for every game you play. All your counters are in here. Most of the time, you don't need to come in here for this. All these orders are going to be automatically coming through your cards or your guys. Um, a lot of this stuff's automatic. If you can't find the counters, they're in here. Um, Next over is the impulse tracker. And I put an end of game turn on here, so you just put that. Say you got 14 turns, you go put that on 15. That black line shows you that 14 is your last turn. All your chits for all your equipment and everything are here. There is none for the Jeep. You use the Jeep with A as per the rules, or Alpha. Your item found, nothing found for your one scenario. I think that's the Abbey, or down here. And your holding boxes, but I very rarely use them. All these are set so you can just send them straight to the proper initiative holding box. You can use that or not. Your your direction counter goes up here and rotates around to wherever you need it. And for the different colored ones, they're all over here. And I have them for all the elites and everything. Next up, um, friendly characters. No, 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 no. We're not there yet. Your player's hand. You got 10 slots for your player's hand, but I doubt you ever have 10 cards. That's a carryover from Nigel's module. And a couple of slots up here to hold them in. I like to draw my current one right here, which is usually a close call morale check, because that's what I tend to draw most. Um, we also, on the display mat, you have your cards. Uh, they'll reshuffle directly back in if you need to be. Um, when you draw the German cards, if they're out here in the deck, I like to put mine next to the counters as I'm putting our orders on. You just send them directly to the blue, red, white, yellow initiative or the discard pile. That option's not available up here. It is available right here in case you put it in the wrong one, or you can drag it around. It all depends how you're feeling. Um, Characters, friendly characters. This is your base characters. All the Combat 2 ones are in here now. If you just load Combat base module without the extension, a lot of these will not show up. You got your medics down here in a random, because when you have a mission that calls for medics, it says put a random in there. And here is your headquarters element right there. So that's all your oh good lord, losing my brain here. That's all your base characters that we use for all the base scenarios, non-campaign. Next up, we have the generic campaign character display, which if you choose to use, you can. I put them in there to keep the integrity of the game intact. These are the counters that come with the game. You could use these. You put them out on the board, and you got to keep referring to your roster sheets for this guy's alpha, which is name, etc. You can still draw the orders and everything as normal. All those menus are still there. Your movement orders, your fire orders, your other orders, they're all still there. Here's the other thing, visibility. Visibility should be on every one of the counters now. So the 11 that you put in earlier, you got at nighttime, you're not sure if what this guy can see, just click visibility and it'll show the 11 hexes. So his visibility is there. The other thing that I put in that I like is the shot fired for the activation of units you don't have to look that up anymore. Just go ahead and hit shot fired. Everybody within there gets their waiting counter turned to an alert or removed. So that's another bonus we have. Your statuses, your hidden, low ammo, all of that. So look through it. There's a lot of menus here, probably too many to count. I have a route off board that will throw them up here. And it's not showing, but I have a retreat off board too. I'll have to look in that. And if you return them back to the characters displayed, it'll go right back to where they're. That's the generic ones, and I put them in there, understanding that nobody will probably ever use them because of the following. The editable campaign characters. These are the ones I made up for like paper dolls. You can take these right off your campaign sheet, and we'll go through the campaign sheet in another video. You just go into first off, you can select either Thompson or the submachine gun for the guys that have machine guns. For the sniper, and there's only one guy that has a sniper, and that's Z. You can put either the M103 or the Grand, depending on whether he's a sniper or not. It defaults to 1903, and that'll affect the ranges and everything that you get. If you have the grease gun, you're going to get the grease gun ranges. If you have the Thompson, you're going to get the Thompson ranges. You can actually hit on them and it'll show you the ranges of the. I very rarely use this. It is a resource hog, but there are times we can use it, and it's there if you need it. That's a carryover mostly from Nigel's module, and then we go back down to the weapons ranges and get rid of them. So, as for the characters, there's a build menu in here, the exact same build menu you would see on the campaign sheet. Leadership skill. If you got a leadership skill of 1, you'll put that up there. You'll have your leadership skill. Your TQ, you go in here, put your TQ, say to 6 or whatever you roll on your campaign. Weapon skill, um, grenade skill, pistol skill, all the same thing. Just select the right component. I have made up icons for every single skill based on the combat skill, movement skill breakdowns. Obviously, we probably, when you get late in the campaign, you probably are going to run out of slots even still with the 3 and the 2 I've made up. You'll just have to put them either under the extra skills thing that I put right here, or my preference has been to just change the label. I also added a enter kills that'll come down to the bottom here so you can keep track of your kill fires during the mission for VP purposes. And this actually, the map resolution's down at 56%. I did that so, but as you can see, we can get right down and dirty with this stuff. That's 100% right there. Um, put your name and rank, Sergeant Saunders, which I actually have in my campaign game, thanks to uh, Glenn Saunders allowed me to use his name, and attrition in the ranks, he's managed to get promoted up there. So we have Sergeant Saunders, and like I said, they go in. Say you've got your combat skill of you got deadly. Deadly shows up there. You got your combat skill. You want to go into your second combat skill. Then your second time you get one. Say this time you got luck. Luck 1. Put it there. And then your third combat skill. Go in. Let's say we're a rifle grenade expert. We're going to put that there. Actually, he can't be a rifle grenade expert, but hey, you know it. Um, movement skills, movement skills be the same thing. We got concealment. So actually, concealment 1, because you're able to get several of them. Concealment 1, 2, or 3. Say we got concealment 2. That's the icon right there. And in case you're not sure, I added all the campaign skills to the list. So there's that, and that also can be expanded out. I just have it zoomed way out for space purposes. You can zoom in and see what you need, and they are attached to all the ones in there, so you kind of have a clue as to which ones you're looking for. And we found in playing that this just makes it so much easier to keep track of all your stuff. So you got driver 2 on top of that. You put your driver in there. That's all the slots I made. You could get out of hand with them, and they are just clutter. It's more clutter to the menus. But hey, this makes so much difference that I think most people end up using that. Return them to there. Some of that clears out, some of it doesn't. Doesn't matter. This in the campaign game, all that clears out. Here, I didn't waste much time because when you're done with the game, you're just done with it. You don't have to save it. Would be nice if they saved through, but you can't. That's why I made a campaign module. Um, Crews. I have them assigned where you can draw them down, and it's all random. And you can just assign them. Say we're going to the M4 Sherman. You can only assign them to the Shermans because technically, using a truck or a Jeep or a half track, you're supposed to use one of your crew as a driver. If you don't have one, then you get a random driver to assign, and you'll assign them on your own. If you just click them to go to M4831 or A rather, they'll wind up over here in the proper sheet, not the M3, the M4A3A. And you see they're already in there. And they don't have it hidden on here because they don't Don't be hidden. And I'll get to that one later. We'll get back to that later. I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's friendly crews. For the enemy, regular enemy characters are all right here. You have cups A and B. They're all in here, including the medics for each color. So everything you need is in there for regular enemy characters. For your elite enemy characters, we have the same thing. They're all in here. We also have cups C and D. You only use them for a couple of scenarios, but they're there. So if you just send them, when you click on a German, you go ahead and send it to cup. And we have hotkeys set up to help with that. But my God, the hotkeys they're just so hard to keep track of in this game because there's so many of them that we couldn't stick with simple A, B, C, Ds like we had on the first two. So again, there's all your elites. Very difficult to fight, by the way. And your cup C's and D's. So if you're wondering where your cup C's and D's are, they're over here. Just made it that much easier to set up everything. And the German enemy crew, the same thing. You do them, you send them out. We got a crew down like this. Just select them all. So we're going to send them to Panzer B. All right. Next up, civilians. Civilian character display. Got all your original ones in here and your dummies. And then you've got the scenario specific ones for Combat 2. Then I went and added a specific Alex for Combat 1. So you don't have to worry about making him up. I used to have a paper dial set up for him and didn't have to. I could just go ahead with all this other stuff going on, make a counter up for him. So there you have your civilians and a random civilian cup. So if you're required to draw random civilians, like the one scenario, you just draw them right into the cup. Or you can send them in via the hotkey. There's a hotkey for them too. I think there is, yes, under other Sendo Cup A. That's civilians. Next up, graveyard. U.S. graveyard is up top. If you put KIA, it will leave a KIA counter. I'll go ahead and show you this KIA counter on the ground. And it will send the character to the graveyard. And they will automatically go to the next. Oops, wrong one. They'll automatically go to the next one. That did not work out, did it? Where did he go? Of course, I'm trying to show a video. He went over here. I'm not sure why that happened. I've run into that before. There it is. I don't know why it didn't work the first time. Every time I try to find it, it doesn't. It works. It screws up on me. Not sure what happened on that. I'm trying to chase that demon down. Anyway, very rarely does it know. If it doesn't send one up there automatically, look from over there at 1-1. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Um, that's something that may have just showed up with the latest 366 VASSAL too, because I never had that problem before. That's the only problem when they upgrade things. Next up is all the Germans will come down here, by the way. So if you get Germans, same thing. German KIA. And he'll show up down there in order. Next one down will go across to there, etc. The other one I made up is the retreat from the board and route from the board. And status, I think I put them under. Yes, route off board and retreat off board. To help you remember when you're doing victory points. If he retreats off board or routes off board, it'll give a route. We're going to route off board. It'll put a routed on him. I'll bring another guy down, and I'll have him retreat off the board. And he will show up there, but he will not be tagged. So you'll be able to tell the difference between who routed and who did not. Then you don't have to have stacks of counters on the side of the board like we were doing for how long. So we also found that made a big deal. Next up is the player age. I'm not sure how many of these I'm keeping in for the actual game going out. I'm not keeping a lot of them in there because it would be giving away the game most basically, but a lot of them are in here. including the old spotting chart from Board Game Geek. I actually don't use that much anymore because some of the stuff's not listed in here. So I called that spotting new as the new one off of Combat 2. And your combat vehicle charts and everything here. Hit locations. Everything you should need is in there. And the old sequence of play. And I have a arrow in there to help keep track of where you're at, especially if you're in the middle of a turn and you have to stop. Um, Random events. These are the old combat random events are basically the same as the new Combat 2 random events, so I kept them in there. There's a couple of issues at the new ones too that need errata, so I'm kind of holding out, changing them around. Remove orders button right here for the end of the turn. So if you have a guy that you've got your aim fire orders, everybody on the board, their orders will disappear when you hit that, and also those weapon skill adjustments that I put in there. And you can see the maps from Combat 1 to Combat 2 match up almost perfectly. I took a lot of time to get them in there. So this is the map from Scenario 20 where you use the both of them. And as soon as I can get my hands on upgraded artwork, I will change the artwork from Combat 1 to Combat 2. This is the map for that scenario in 20, I think it is. So anyway, um, OBs, so you can see where your guys are if you get you just locations. I don't use this a whole lot, but it'll show you who's on what, where you got guys. Um, this charge availability is set to on or off. That is for the C4. Honestly, God, I can't remember now. You use that when you're setting the C4 charge. C4 charge availability. I think you set the A and the counter will work properly for setting the charge. I forget what that's a plan counter, I think. If you have the plan counter on, it can set off the C4 charge. I haven't used that for a while, so honestly I can't remember exactly how to use that. Once I look at the rules, I'm sure it'll become clear. Notes, if you need to make any notes. German vehicles, Panzer 4A. On all the vehicles, your vehicle orders will be right here. We would each order from each position what they can do. Main gun empty, loaded. I'll put that high explosive or armor piercing. Your damage, just click on the damage down here. If you get a main gun damage, just click on that. Driver, just click on that. All this damage, just click on whatever one it is and hit damage, and that'll put the proper damage in for you. These are not movable, so you can't do anything with them. Your hatch is closed and open as per your orders. Again, the drivers, different target markers. If you get your target markers here. You may have to move things off there to get them, but that was the only place I could really figure out it was good to put them. And your vehicle marker. When you get the vehicle to use, you're gonna put that down there on the board. German B's, the one I sent the troops to. So as you see, they're in here. If you want to use, if they bail out of the vehicle, they have the same orders that everybody else has based on their equipment, if they have any. Um, Most of them can't fire. He can fire because he has a pistol. So vehicle orders are in here. Personal orders are in the counter. I think that is it. Oh, I have as a reminder up here, the order in which you're supposed to do orders and everything for each, as per the rules. Commander first, driver, gunner, loader, etc. Makes a huge difference. Just follow that explicitly. All the different vehicles are in here. Same thing with all of them, damage, etc. You got to draw your counters in here on your own. I don't have that automatically set up. Drivers, you got to assign that. You got to drag them in. Most things tell you to use a character chit, so that's why I did not have anything on them. Confidence tracker is something that Clifton and Ross had worked on, and I've been testing out for them. Basic rules are down in here on how to set it up. Basically, it is 1 point for each character you put on on the board. So if I come out with 12 guys, my max confidence is 12. My break contact is half of that, 6, and my surrender is half of that, which is 3. And then every time you get a kill, it's 2, or bad wound is 1, or whatever. We've got all that written down here. And once they hit break contact, they've got to go, any movement orders go in the route direction. And once they hit surrender, way we've been playing out is with any enemy character within 3 hexes of you surrenders automatically. The rest get away. The scenario is done. Kind of gives the Germans a little bit of a human factor, so they don't have to fight to the last man. Uh, Germans set up the same way. Screenshot right here. Zoom in and out. Like I said, we're at 100% right here. You can go all the way up to 160, which is great for zooming in on terrain for LOS. I usually run it around 56. I think it's the default. Your overview window, you can snap to wherever you need to be. You can go over there and check when you have a guy that doesn't cooperate. Um, this one here will hide all the counters on the map. As you see, the friendly KIA is missing. You do that to see what terrain's under there. LOS, you should know that if you've played VASSAL before. This hides most of the counters, not all of them. It'll keep the um, personal count, your character counters on the board. That'll just toggle them back and forth. Um, LOS has them come down, fade out a little bit, and this one, the difference between this and these is this one gets them all out of there, so you can see what terrain's underneath. That comes in handy with some of the newer um, uh, counters we put in here, like smoke. We went with hex size smoke so we don't forget them or miss them, and we found they work a lot better. Craters, I did the same thing with craters. Rubble, and I don't have them set up to snap to so we don't get unruly stacks in the center. All edges or vertices are legitimate, so you can kind of stack guys in there without having too many counter issues. Kind of helps things a little bit. The other thing, see, Foxholes General. Yes, Foxholes I did the same thing on. Trenches, same thing. So it's so much easier to see all this stuff there. And a lot of this you're going to have to, once you put it down, you're going to have to hold the shift key to select it and move it. So you'd want to hold the shift key, select it, and then you can move it again or get rid of it. I did that so you don't have to keep worrying about it moving around with your stacks. Illumination. Illumination has the show illuminated. You can remove that. Wire, same thing. Trench, same thing. Fortified, same thing. Um, just a brief overview on that. And all this stuff, like I said, a lot of this you'll have to, once it's set, you're going to have to, actually that's set up so if you swipe it, you can still grab it. I might change that. Because if you swipe over a whole stack, you're going to move your smoke with you. Let's see. I think that is it. Any questions you may have, you're not sure, just right click on everything and look for menus. There's a ton of menus on this. This video will cover the basic module and the extension. And like I said, when you install this, you'll want to make sure that you have the extension showing up there in the load. See if I can find it again. Should be there at the beginning of the right there. Should, if you don't see that combat extension 2 loaded, then you need to make sure that it gets installed properly. If you have trouble installing it, let me know. That's it for that one. Thanks for joining me. We will see you all next time. Combat 2 Vassal Module Overview by Compass Games, designed by Ross Martell. We'll see you guys next time.